cloudy. It's cool. Y'all already know what that is. So I guess I could throw that in this video too. Okay. So let me find my notes on it real quick. These are some 2021 notes, to be honest. As far as I kept up with this, it actually meant a lot to me because you won't catch me writing in no type of book. You haven't. It's been years. Give me a second. Guess we can wait a little bit till some more people come in, if anyone comes in. Alright. Um, you know, I said the clouds is actually sub-zero technology for sure, for sure. Just because the whole point of it being zero is to eliminate the charges in the air. So I know y'all been feeling this radiation hitting the planet. There's been a lot of radiation. It's crazy. It actually matched the little timeline I was trying to tell y'all about. Hopefully I explained it enough. Because just like the 8-8 portal, May 8th was one of those. Okay? And it goes on into, I like to say the 8th, 19th, 18th, really the 19th. But Google says um, till the 12th when you look at the Lionsgate portal. The whole thing about it is for alternates of that. So now you have your January 27th going into February 8th. Then you have your April 27th going into April 8th. Now your next one is going to be July 27th going into May 8th. I mean, August 8th, which is pretty much like April on another time, on another calendar. On my calendar, how I'll be looking at it, July is April. News or anybody on YouTube and they show the West and the East, use your discernment. Like the West side, the West Coast was usually always hotter than the East Coast. Now, when you peep the clouds, you peep how it's highs and lows. Now, from what I was taught in school, when warm air and cool air comes together, it kind of like makes tornadoes and shit. So when you look at the tornado valley line, that's pretty much where all the tornadoes happen. So pretty much they've been doing this shit for a very long time. This is nothing new. They're just telling us in their own way. You feel me? So the thing that's going on, a lot of people didn't take the shot, but a lot of shit's still in the air. This is not for fear mongering. I'm gonna allegedly say this shit because they always delete it when I try to make it. I don't know if it was because of the Bill Gates pictures or what. They deleted 3 of my videos saying this shit, and I'm pretty sure they kept like 1 or 2. It might be choppy. So we're just gonna get on with it. So first we're gonna start off with the clouds. Okay. So the clouds is calcium carbonate nanoparticles anchored by graphene oxide gold sheet nanohybrid are which is the gold XCaCO3. That's the formula. You can look this up if you want to, and it'll pretty much show you it for yourself. It's always good to see for yourself. But sometimes truth always resonates. You feel me? So, not saying you trust everything, but sometimes for you to even trust something, you have to put some type of energy into it. So, I mean, like, when I heard truth, it led me into the right way. Because if it didn't match the heart and higher, it wasn't really righteous. If it ain't right, not righteous. Okay? I mean, if it's not righteous, it's not right. Alright, so let's get back to point. So, be measured by scanning electron microscopy, X-ray photon spectroscopy, X-ray diffractions, and Fourier transform infrared spectroscopy analysis. Afterwards, composite epoxy coatings filled with gold and gold CO3 nanohybrids are prepared via a curing process. The dispersion of anti-corrosive properties of composite epoxy coatings are investigated. The results reveal that GOCaCO3 nanohybrid achieve a homogeneous dispersion as well as reinforce corrosion resistance of epoxy coating. Oh, okay. So remember I've been telling y'all about capital D. Oh shit, I can barely hear you. Can you hear me now? Oh, there's nobody on here. Alright, so it was my AC blowing. I thought I'm talking loud, but guess not. Alright, so the dispersion of the anti-corrosive properties of composite epoxy coatings are investigated. The results reveal that GOCaCO3 nanocoating. So it'll be that layer in the sky, that be that what it means, delta, right? But it's a cell, it's an atom. So dealing with D means denoting energy, dealing with cycles. Okay. And you're the cycle. Your genetic code deals with the cycle. It's the cycle. The study of 369. I mean, I am everything, and everything is me. So is you. So, the fuck, bro. Let me find this real quick, cause it said it's a homogeneous dispersion as well as reinforcement. Reinforce corrosion resistance of epoxy coating. So here we go. So a homo. So that deals with the homolysis, okay, which is a homolytic fission. Is a equal and lucis loosening, or a homolytic fission is a chemical bond association of a molecular bond by a process where each of the fragments, an atom or molecule, retain the original bonded electron. During homolytic fission of a neutral molecule with an even number of electrons, two free radicals will be generated. That is, two electrons involved with the original bond of distributed between the two fragment species. That's when the atoms in the air is getting that charge, which is now for shit show. They clouding so much, they making it's like new wavelength patterns kind of going on a little bit with the poles. So they trying to finesse that. But anyways, the energy involved in this process is called a bond dissociation energy, which is BDE. Bond cleavage is also possible by a process called heterolysis. Okay, so homo means the same, hetero means different. Lysis means pathological blood destruction, meaning the killing of your red blood cells. So so this is a picture of what they mean by that. Dealing with your A's and your B's. right? Because when your A's and your B's, now you have your C's, and so on and so on and so on. A through Z, talking about the cycle of you, the cycle of thee. Alright, so bond dissociation energy is defined by enthalpy per mole required to break a given bond of a specific molecular entity by homolysis, symbolized as capital D, right? What I was telling y'all, D stands for delta, denoting new energy, stands for change, or maybe that's X. One stands for change, one stands for movement, because it denotes the energy and the direction it proceeds in, which is your north, west, east, and south. Okay, what has been doing that? The Nibiru and the sun is denoting this 3,600 years of memory. But when you're tuning into this meta, because this shit's like a metaverse already, if you saying the sky and all this shit fake, then what the fuck is it? A metaverse? They manipulated the consciousness of it. Which manipulated the people. But that deals with the moon, because the moon deals with the brain. It's constructed just like it. So, in the higher aspect, if it was like a machine. Homolysis symbolizes, which is determined by the factors related to the stability of the resulting radical species. Because of the relatively high energy required to break bonds in this matter, homolysis occurs primarily under light and heat. When you're dealing with light, that's dealing with the ultraviolet radiation, which is ultraviolet radiation, which is dealing with the UV coming from the sun. The reason why animals and all types of shit is hiding under these trees and stuff like that is because of the UV of the sun. Okay? That shit's higher than normal. It's past 3. You feel me? It's past 3. It's past 3. It really started doing that even more 2020, because through this timeline, it's been breaking dimensions of the layers and is joining back to a system it was once joined with. It's going to be a quad triple solar system, just because Sirius is a gate to the Sirius star system. It's not a it's a gateway. You feel me? So that's why we dealing with higher levels, because on these 4 phases it denotes a higher self. Best thing you could do this other fruit juice, because the light's gonna get stronger and it has to match some in your body, or it's gonna strain you a lot. And it seems like people is overdosing on frequencies. You feel me? Because once you start dealing with the certain things in your body, now you're dealing with the capital D in medical terms. But I named this part Xenobot. You feel me? Dealing with the homolysis. Okay? So let me repeat this again. Bond dissociation energy is defined as an enthalpy per mole required to break a given bond of a specific molecular entity by homolysis, symbolized as capital D. The bond association energy is dependent on the strength of the bond, which is determined by factors relating to the stability of resulting radical species. Because of a relatively high energy required to break bonds in this matter, homolysis occurs primarily under certain circumstances, which is light, ultraviolet radiation. The OO bond is a dibenzyl peroxide and is cleaved homolytically, distribution a radical to each benzoyloxy. Heat certain intramolecular bonds, such as the OO bond of the peroxide, small amount of heat. Temperatures in the absence of oxygen, which is pyrolysis, can indicate elimination of carbon compounds. So, carbon compounds are defined as chemical substances containing carbon. More compounds of carbon exist than any other chemical element except hydrogen. Organic compounds are far more numerous than inorganic carbon compounds. In general, bonds of carbon with another element are covalent. A tetra, tetravalent but carbon-free radicals. Carbons occur as short-lived intermediates. Ions of carbon are carbon cations, and carbanions are also short-lived, as the ability to form a long chain and rings are elliptic compounds. And elliptic compounds contain one or more all carbon rings, which may be either saturated or unsaturated, but do not have aromatic characters. Elliptic compounds, alicylic compounds may have one or more aliphatic side chains attached. Cyclopropane is the smallest alicylic compound, which looks like this. So, getting back to what it was saying over here with the clouds, right? So, the dispersion of anti-corrosive properties of composite epoxy coatings are investigated. The results reveal that gold C8CO3 nanohybrids achieve a homogeneous dispersion as well as reinforced corrosion resistance of epoxy coating. Furthermore, anti-corrosive mechanisms are tentatively proposed for the GOCaCO3 epoxy coating. Epoxy is a products of epoxy resin. Epoxy resins are also known as polypoxides and are a class of reactive polymers which contain epoxy groups. The epoxide functional group is also collectively called epoxy. The Lupoc name for epoxy group is oxygen. Epoxy dust. Never breathe in the sanding. They call it sanding. So when we hear these sandstorms and shit, never breathe the sanding dust of particle cured epoxy. Epoxy remains reactive until they have cured. When you inhale the particles, they become trapped in the mucus lining of your respiratory. Reactive materials can cause severe respiratory irritation, ache, or respiratory allergies. And that's when everybody be saying they got allergies and stuff. So now we match that up with the yeah, with capital D Delta dealing with the cycle and some more dealing with medical. So It's a lot of people that's having a pain in the back of their leg, and that deals with the the SARS-CoV-2. Okay, so they say it means severe acute respiratory syndrome. Coronavirus is a virus that causes respiratory illness in humans. Sarco is a prefix, so SARS-CoV-2. If you take the S out, it makes it plural to singular. And now, if you take the hyphen out, now you have Sarco. Now V2, V is already has its many meanings. It can mean variable velocity, 20-second, C, value, version, verb, vector, uh, symbol of victory in World War II, electrical potential, meaning 5, uh, medical science, all types of shit, voltage, vanadium, volume, very binding form used as a prefix meaning flesh, often used in medicine, drugs, and biology, which is the study of life and nature, especially pathology, which is dealing with the cells. Um, and dealing at this moment, pathological blood destruction. All right, so sarco meaning is a combining form used as a prefix meaning flesh and is often used in medicine, vaccines, biology, nature, and especially pathology. Sarcoma, any various malignant tumors composed of neoplastic cells resembling embryonic connective tissues, a malignant tumor originating from the mesodermal tissue, such as fat, muscle, or bone, compared to carcinoma. Sarcolactic acid gets built up. So if people been having pain, you really just need to fast. Um, because dealing with these frequencies is going to intense even more unless you do so. Stretch, eat good, keeps blood flow because once you create a blood flow, now you create a current. Now that current can get its charge naturally. You feel me? So sarcolactic acid, an isomeric form of lactic acid produced by muscle tissue during anaerobic metabolism of glucose. As the sarcolactic acid liberated in the muscles is not oxygenated, a condition of acidosis is issued. Sarco and sarcophagus is a stand coffin, especially bearing sculptures, inscriptions of displays as monuments in ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome. Not to be confused with the related word sacrophagus, meaning flesh consuming. Greeks believed that there was some kind of stone that consumed the flesh of the corpse, and it was used for coffins. Sarco is also used in sarcomere, another term used as sarc. That you have heard sarcomere and anatomical for a part of certain muscles. Now we have now we know sarco means flesh. The second mirror means part. So sarcomere means part of flesh. Sarco also appears in the Sarco Sutras, the name of a extinct relative of crocodiles that clocked at 30 feet and nearly 10,000 pounds. The formidable super croc lived 100 years ago. Africa. Sutras use form the genius name of extinct reptiles resembling crocodiles in form. Sutras used to form a genus named extinct reptiles resembling crocodiles in form. Sutures used to form genius names of extinct reptiles resembling crocodiles in form. New Latin ancient Greek crocodile Sobek from Egypt. People heard of that before. I'm not going to go into that. But what is the suspect medication? Psychiatric, the use of the alleviate the side effects of another medication. CO means compound, CO means cardio output, carbon monoxide. Sarco means flesh, V means venous, relating to the veins in the and vibranium. So all this shit going on, it's like a mutation going on. So back to why I named the video common variable immunodeficiency. So now we're gonna talk about that and what it is. It is immune disorder characterized by reoccurring effectors and low antibody levels. Specifically in the immunoglobulin type of uh, IG capital G, IG14, IgA. Generally, symptoms include high susceptibility to foreign invaders, chronic lung disease and inflammation, an infection of gastrointestinal tract, and affect males and females equally. The condition can be found in children diagnosed 20 to 50. However, symptoms vary greatly between people. Variables refuse to the heterogeneous clinical manifestation of this disorder, which includes recurrent bacterial infections, increased risk for autoimmune disease and lymphoma, as well as gastro disease. The cause of CVID is poorly understood. Shit that's going on now is poorly understood. So why the fuck y'all trying to like put your trust into something that you most likely didn't do your own research on? If anything, eat better. Start growing your own shit before there be no seeds and everything. So it seems like it's always been worth it. Plus, we got a tribe to feed. So anyways, however, symptoms vary greatly between people. Variables refer to the heterogeneous clinical manifestation of this disorder, which include recurrent bacterial infections, increased risk for autoimmune disease and lymphoma, as well as gastrointestinal disease. CVID is a lifelong disease. The cause of CVID is poorly understood. Deletions in genes that encode cell surface proteins and cytokine protein receptors such as CD19, CD20, CD21, CD8 is in which part of chromosomes is lost during the DNA replication, which may include several genes or as few as a single base pair. Additionally, the disease is defined by I cells, iota cell defect, denine cell. One is why they're calling that the X now. But defect, namely reduced proliferative capacity. The disease is hard to diagnose, taking on an average of 6 to 7 years. We 6, 7 years in. They just introduced it 4 years ago, but it probably like does its own thing. We're not gonna make no bets on that. After SAT, CVID is a primary immunodeficiency. Treatments options are limited and usually include long a lifelong immunoglobulin replacement therapy. This therapy is thought to help reduce the bacterial infections. This treatment alone is not wholly effective, and many people still experience other symptoms like lung disease and non infectious inflammatory system symptoms. CVID was first diagnosed over 60 years ago and since emerged as a predominant class of primary antibodies deficiency, hypogammaglobulinemia, and abnormal low level of immunoglobulins in the blood. It is thought to affect between 1 in 25,000 to 1 in 50,000 people worldwide. Causes, the underlying cause, CVID, are largely obscure. Genetic mutations can be identified as the cause of disease in about 10% of people, while familiar inheritance account while familiar inheritance for 10 to 25% of cases, rather than a rising from a single genetic mutation. CVID seems to result from a variety of mutations that contribute to a failure in antibody production. Mutation genes encoding CD19, CD21, CD80, and BAFFR have been identified as causative of CVID. Susceptibility to COVID may be linked to major histocompatibility complex of genome, particularly to Dr. Do haplotype. A mutation in NFKB2 gene has recently been shown to cause CVID-like symptoms in the mirroring model. The frequency of NFKB2 mutation in CVID population is, however, yet to be established. CVID has estimated prevalence of 1 in 50,000 in Caucasians. The disease seems to be less prevalent to Asians and African Americans. Males and females are equally affected. However, among children, boys predominate. Recent study of people of European descent with primary immunodeficiency found that 30% had CVID as opposed to a different immunodeficiency. 10 to 25% of the people inherited this disease, typically through autosomal dominant. It is not yet possible to generalize on disease prevalence among ethnic and radical groups. As antibodies deficiencies, the most common type of infections involve sinuses, nose, and lungs. Pneumonia, chronic coughing lasts a few weeks or months. Ear infection, gastrointestinal infection, sinus, sinusitis, sinusitis, sinusitis. Immunodeficiencies compromise many diseases and are genetic defects affecting the immune system. There are roughly 150 immunodeficiencies spanning over 120 genetic defects. Charles Janeway, sir, is generally credited with the first description of a case of CVID in 1953. The case involved a 39-year-old who had recurrent infections, bronchitis, and meningitis. Though described in 1953, there was no standard definition for CVID until the 1990s, which caused a widespread confusion during the diagnosis. During the 1990s, the European Society for Immunodeficiency, ESID, and Pan American Group for Immunodeficiency, PAGID, developed diagnostic the disease. These criteria were published in 1999, and since that time, some aspects like increasing the minimum age has been changed. Side plays important biological roles across the phylogenetic kingdom. In mammals, physiology, which is physics and biology, carbon monoxide, in a classical example of hormesis, where low concentrations serve as endogenous neurotransmitters. Gasotransmitters in high concentrations are toxic, resulting in carbon monoxide poison. It is also isoelectronic with cyanide oxide. French chemist Delisson produced CO by heating zinc oxide with coke, but mistakenly concluded that the gaseous product was hydrogen, as oxygen, including auto concentration. Carbon monoxide burns blue flame, producing carbon dioxide. Antoine Lavoisier conducted similar inconclusive experiments as Lasson in 1777. The gas was identified as a compound containing oxygen and carbon by William Cruikshank in the 1800s. Thomas Bettis and James Watt recognized carbon monoxide as a hydrocarbonate to brighten venous blood in 1793. Carbon, nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur represents the six most important chemical elements whose covalent combinations make up the biological molecules on Earth. All nonmetals found in carbohydrates, lipid, nucleic acids, and proteins. Micron, Repsoid, Hetul Face, David Ryan, and Bangkok. What was posted in Cage Fools? Well, that's it. All right, guys. Programming 57 America Pop Glitch. Stanley, Charlotte Climate Change 13583. Let him who have eyes understand. Number of the beast. Understanding. Count the number of the beast. For is the number of man. ZTE Telecommunication moves Stern suspension ET Goon Nostrum. And then if anyone will say to you, look here, the Messiah, or look, he's there, do not believe it. And who that deceiveth them that dwells on the earth by the means of the miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them, dwell on the earth by sword, and did live. Stan Lee, 1316858, mainstream, escape, danger, multi-entry, artificial intelligence, X the beat, to superior, site 183, and the ark resteth on the seventh day, month on the 17th day of the month upon the mountains of Arad. Aries, Gemini, etc. 76% illumination. Days of terror start September. Capital letters are important. Global Consciousness Project. Perdome, Dre 12, Michael 238 mil. So the book of Ecclesiastes described the world accurately 3 millenniums ago. The Knight Templar secret was that they were cannibal sodomites or nothing else. Cold Polytechnique massacre. The anti-bomber yesterday and anti-Trump shooter today called Divide and Conquer. A reality script doesn't make works through the order